I felt like a lot of pressure to be making these like big songs. And I was like, I feel like this record has to be really big. So I feel like I need to make certain songs. You know, I have all these ideas about records that I want to make, and I want to make this record in 5 years, and I want to make this record in 10 years, and I want to make like just these ideas for records that I want to make. And we had this conversation, and Tyler just said to me, you just have to make the record that you want to make right now. That's it. There's no like, let me make sure this one's a commercial success so that I can make what I want later down the road. You just have to make the record that you want to make right now.
He's right.
So then we stayed up and wrote Cherry that night. So
you felt bad when you wrote it. How'd you feel when you finished it?
So good. Like I loved it so much.
It's an amazing song.
It.
Who's speaking at the end? What's the vocal at the end that cuts
That was my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, so that's interesting, and I think it's super cool that you left that in, obviously, from a sort of imagery point of view, because I love all that stuff. I love hearing things that revolve around music and aren't necessarily just tied to a structure. But the decision to keep, you know, your ex-girlfriend speaking at the end of the song is like so blunt and so straight up. Like, what the f was going through your mind? Like anyone else who's just broken up with someone right now is like, not on your wildest day would I do that.
Yeah, I know. I don't know, I think it was like, because it got added in later on and it felt so part of the song. It just felt like it needed it. We're friends and stuff, so I asked her if it was okay, and she was okay with it. And,
what did she think of the song?
I think she liked it.
Come on, man, it's written about it, right? You gotta love that at the end of the day, man. I mean, there's a song called Falling on the record, which the first time I heard it was like everyone was just floored, and it's a real standout, and it's gonna become something I think that people will carry with them irrespective of the context of the album. They'll zero in on that song as well in its own way. And Tom was telling me that came super fast.
I was going out for dinner, I think, and I was getting picked up from Tom's house. So he came to pick me up, and I was showering, and he was like playing on the piano. And as I came out of the shower, he was playing like the dun 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 dun. I went and stood next to him at the piano, just in a towel, and we just kind of wrote the whole thing. So it was really fast.
How long did it take?
I'd say Falling maybe took like probably 20 minutes.
What? I mean, that's 20 minutes in a towel. That's real friendship.
Yeah.
That's
right.
About 3 days.
He's like, okay, we finished it. Please go put some trousers on.
Put some pants on or something. Yeah. That's one of those moments, right, where the surfing analogy, where the wave and the practice all comes together. Where do you think that came from, the subject matter, if it came so quick? What do you think you were saying in that song, listening back to it now?
I think it was like, for me, what I hadn't really experienced before was during the making of this record, the times when I felt good and I felt happy were like the happiest I've ever felt in my life. And the times when I felt sad was like the lowest I ever felt in my life. And I think it was kind of that feeling of when you can feel yourself kind of falling back into one of those moments where you're there. And the chorus says like, what am I now? Am I someone I don't want around? It was kind of like...
Yeah, it's powerful. It's super self-absorbed and self-indulgent in a sort of like self-hating kind of way.
Kind of. I guess it was a big moment where I was kind of asking myself like, who am I? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Kind of.
And there's imagery in there of being too drunk and wandering hands and all that stuff. That all the guilt points.
Yeah.
Along
and just
the way.
like, I kind of started to feel like threads of, you know, where I could see myself becoming someone that I didn't want to be. And that was really hard. But I think that the thing that's nice with that is you get to write a song about it and be like, okay,
next.
You know.
And who helps you at those moments? Does your mum still play a really important role? Your family? And by the way, you don't have to be you.
Right.
There are people doing all kinds of things in all walks of life who are losing their way and need people to bring them back into line. So let's just talk about that relationship for a second, because I know family's a big thing for you.
I'm so lucky with my family. They've always just been really supportive, and that's it's kind of all you can ask for with like doing this. Is obviously, you know, sometimes you don't want to go home and be like, I'm miserable right now, because you want to be like, no, I'm fine, don't worry about me. And that happens too, but also have the relationship with my family where if I need to have that conversation, I can.
What's the best bit of advice your mum's given you?
The thing with my mum is she's less of like a soundbite of advice. She's like the kindest woman I know, you know? So for me, it's always been like just watching her, how she is with people and stuff is like, I just don't think she has like a bad bone, which is an incredible thing to grow up around. To have that person like supporting you is, it's amazing. She's the best. She's like actually the best. So.
Who do you miss the most? Who do you wish was still around?
Probably my stepdad. Stepdad passed away a couple of years ago.
That's tough.
He was pretty great. He was like a pretty great guy.
Yeah. And what have you learned sort of going through life now as you're kind of experiencing loss? Because we all have to cross that bridge, and that's kind of sobering. And then that's when adulthood's really knocking on your door and you start to really take advantage of and reprioritize things. And, you know, coming out the other end of that really, really high octane, visceral childhood that you had into your 20s and getting into your second album and being an independent human being who's got a strong relationship with your family, like, how have your priorities shifted and what are the things that really come into focus for you now?
Friendships are probably just the most important thing to me. Like the people who I'm really close with are just, I'd say, way more important to me than anything else. I've definitely felt a difference in the conversations that I have with friends. I guess since you like experience death more. When you're a kid and you lose a grandparent or something.
Yeah.
And it's really sad, but also it's like, oh, grandparents are the people who die first.
There's some natural order to that.
Yeah, and I think like the first time you lose like a friend is when you really feel like an adult. You're kind of like, wow.
It's because it's one of the first experiences you have, I think, where you lose control, completely lose control.
You know, I think you have those moments where, and every single person does it who's ever lost a friend, where, you know, whether you're close to them or not, I think everyone has that thing of like, I wish I'd just asked one more time if they were okay, you know? And if there's any positive thing that could possibly come out of that, it's that now the conversations that I have with friends about that stuff is way different in terms of like, you know, you ask a friend if they're okay and it's like, yeah, I'm good. And you're like, I'm like more prepared to have that like, no, but, you know,
give me the real stuff.
You're actually okay.
Give me the real stuff.
You know, and that's like their conversations that I have with my friends now.
And you're equally vulnerable in your own way. And you're able to give.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's like a really important thing. And that obviously, like I said earlier, is where like real friendship comes from. I don't think everyone's lucky enough to have it, and I don't think it happens all the time. So
interesting that, you know, you came out of this experience, which has left so many people isolated and fearful and paranoid and not wanting to connect with human spirit because they've had non-stop human spirit surrounding them for years, right? And you're like so different. It's like you just kind of called time on it and then just went searching for real human experience almost immediately. You know, you came to California in the search for people and for experience and for relationships.
I mean, the thing with my relationship with California is like, it's also definitely changed over the last few years, but when I first came here, it was like, oh, if you get to move here, it means you've made it. Like, you did good. I mean, you know?
To be fair.
Yeah, but this isn't my house. but you know, you get this like, it's everywhere you've seen in movies and you're kind of like, oh, it's amazing. Like, you're in the mix and you get to be here. And I think the more time I spent here, I was like, oh no, actually if you can come here and then leave is when you feel really great. If you're like, oh yeah, that's amazing.
See you in 2 months.
See you in a bit, yeah.
But that just goes back to what you were saying about, you strike me as being someone who's just restless.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with here is like, I've never felt at home here in LA, which is, you know, in one sense, not great, but at the same time, I always feel like I'm on holiday when I'm here.
Yeah, it's fair.
So